Now turning our attention to our Capitol Watch this morning, Senator Mark Kelly introduced the Stop Excessive Force in Immigration Act, which would limit ICE's use of deadly force and some other things. So let's go live to Scripps News Group's Nate Reed, who spoke exclusively to Senator Kelly. Good morning, Nate.
Hey, good morning, Tony. Well, this is a bill that would build on some of the reforms that Democrats on Capitol Hill are looking for to ICE in order to unlock their support for a government funding package, but we'll get into that in a moment. So Senator Kelly exclusively telling the Scripps News Group about this new piece of legislation, which goes further than some of the other Democratic proposals which have already come out, including a requirement that ICE would wear body cameras, no face masks, even name tags, clear identification of who they are when conducting this enforcement activity. Now, Senator Kelly's bill would place restrictions on the use of deadly force by ICE officers, mandate officers administer first aid if necessary, and limit ICE from obstructing state or local investigations of excessive use of force by its agents. And look, a lot of these reforms specifically coming after what we saw in the past week, the fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE officer in Minneapolis. The statement from Vice President J.D. Vance that ICE agents have absolute immunity when conducting this enforcement of ICE's regulations. And one of the things we've heard so much of from these protesters, people who've been protesting ICE across the country, is that they want to abolish or defund ICE. Well, I asked Senator Kelly what his reaction was to those calls. He told me that's not his style. Take a listen. There have been activists who say, let's start over. Let's abolish this thing, rebuild it from the start. I mean, is that specific call to abolish ICE and rebuild it a mistake?
That's not what I think we should do. I think we need serious oversight, accountability, and serious reform, and serious discussions about the size of the force, the training they're getting, the people they're hiring.
And Tony, we've talked so much about how Democrats are in the minority right now in Congress. There's only so much they can do, but there is a specific point of leverage actually coming up for them, the government funding process. Right now, Democrats and Republicans are gathered in a room somewhere, likely on Capitol Hill, talking about how to fund the Department of Homeland Security for this upcoming year. That's been one of the areas where they've had a lot of difficulty seeing eye to eye. Now, there are some Democrats who are floating the possibility of not supporting a funding package for the Department of Homeland Security, which of course includes Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, ICE, unless there are specific reforms included, like the ones that Senator Kelly is proposing in his bill. And look, there's a lot at stake here. If lawmakers don't reach an agreement on some sort of funding deal, if there's no bipartisan agreement to fund the Department of Homeland Security, we could see a partial government shutdown at the end of this month. And it wouldn't just affect ICE. The Department of Homeland Security also includes TSA, the workers who are at the airport when you go and take a flight to screen you. They went without pay for the longest period of time in American history. Just last year, when that last shutdown happened, we could be staring down the barrel of yet another government shutdown if lawmakers are not able to reach agreement. That's why Democrats might actually have a little leverage here. Even though they're in the minority in Congress, Republicans will likely need some Democratic support to get any sort of funding bill across the finish line, Tony.
Hey, thanks so much, Nate Reed, live in D.C.